At last, after months of waiting, the results are finally in. Basilisk managed to avoid the Hall of Shame ranking, although he didn't make it into the honorable mentions ranking either. So that would mean one thing, that perhaps, by some miracle, Basilisk made it to the top 16 ranking, along with the other hybrids that were capable of defeating the Indominus Rex 2.0. And after watching the video, I can confirm that Basilisk didn't make it into the tournament. Oh well, I guess I should have expected this, and this isn't really the first time I try participating into something. Though after this, I think I'm gonna call it quits with participating into tournaments, because what's the point at this point? But either way, I'm still pretty proud of creating my baby boy Basilisk. And at the end, this entire hybrid war thing was meant to be for fun either way. Even though I feel like there's some people that do take it a bit seriously. But since we're in the topic of hybrids now, I'm gonna do something that I actually announced in my community post. You're wondering what that is? Well, why don't we get started, shall we?
Say we'll have the same desire. I come at night, burn in the night like wildfire. Following the wind, following the stars. Swear I will fight until I run out and bury my love. Fighting for the ones that are lost in the heart. Oh, I know it's hard to see the end. It's hard to see the end. I know it's hard to see the end. I know it's hard to see the end. Inside the heart I will begin. Inside your heart. Without a make it up, my friend.
So if you missed it, about 3 weeks ago I posted this post in my community post, and it basically talked about doing some modifications for some of the contributors that I chosen for the hybrid. And the reason for this is because in the video where I introduced the Basilisk, a comment actually pointed out that one of the contributors that I chose for the hybrid wasn't actually a good idea, and it mostly had drawbacks in terms of the utilization of this contributor. So aside from that, I also said in that post that if Basilisk were to make it into the top 16 ranks, then I don't think I needed to do some modifications. But if he didn't make it, then I would do the modifications, and since he didn't make it whatsoever, might as well do the modifications right now. So just to clarify something, this is not the creation of Basilisk 2.0, as it would be too early to even start with that, and I do wanna have that idea be a thing for at least a few months later, or like even 1 year later, because again, it would be too early for me to start working on the 2.0 version. What I'm doing is basically modifying and changing some of the contributors that I chose for Basilisk originally with something much more fitting so that he wouldn't get hanked, basically. Now, before starting with the modification, let's do a little recap on who Basilisk is. Basilisk is a ginormous reptilian hybrid that weighs 5 tons, has a height of 3.5 meters, at least when he's on 4 legs, and has a length of 9 meters. This hybrid is composed of 14 contributors. Those include Megalania for the base form, African elephant for the size, great white shark for the bite force, pangolin for the scales made of keratin that provide armor, Stegosaurus for the Thagonizer weapon, harpy eagle that provide a longer front claws for the hybrid, Asian rhino for the horn, pig for an immune system against venom and diseases, horse for stamina, bald eagle for eyesight, chimpanzee for intelligence, camel for heat resistance, turquoise killifish for a faster growth rate, and Nile crocodile for amphibiousness. Alright, now that I finished introducing Basilisk, time to do the modifications. And for that, we need to see what the user left in the comment section of the video. So here's the comment that was left in the video, and it's a comment that comes from MonsterBrown013. And he says this: for feedback, it's the jaws. The jaws of a great white are made of cartilage, while Komodo dragons have jaws made of bone, and cartilage is weaker than bone, so it would weaken the bite force and weaken the teeth, and when you compare their hunting strategies, it would probably break the jaws. So yeah, just from reading that, I may have unintentionally hanked my hybrid. Which is pretty odd, because if that was the case, I'm surprised the Basilisk still managed to avoid the Hall of Shame. But let's forget about that. So yeah, like I said in my video, I am not an expert when it comes to animal biology, as I never knew that shark bone is actually made of cartilage, and the fact that cartilage, despite being strong, is actually more squishier and can bend, therefore making bone stronger. So, right off the bat, the great white shark DNA would certainly not be helpful for my hybrid in terms of bite force. So, how exactly am I going to replace it exactly? Well, the user actually suggested another contributor that would actually be more efficient for the hybrid in regards of bite force. So, this is what he said. A perfect contributor would be the Allosaurus. It was similar to a Komodo dragon. Both have similar feeding and hunting tactics. They both have strong neck muscles and have a lightweight skulls, and they also have a similar jaw mechanism. So after reading that, I found that the situation was already fixed. Rather than using a shark, I have a dinosaur that has a similar feeding tactic to Komodo dragons. However, upon doing some research, I actually found more about the supposed bite force of the Allosaurus. In terms of bite force, Allosaurus didn't really have a great bite force. In fact, his bite force is mostly compared to a modern wolf, which is pretty small, especially when you compare it to the Tyrannosaurus Rex's bite force. And on top of that, it's also speculated that the Allosaurus' bite force wasn't strong enough to deliver bone-crushing bites on large prey. So after doing this research, I later felt lost, to the point that I didn't know what to do with him anymore. Like, I started to feel like maybe the contributors for him weren't perfect enough, and he just wouldn't be functional for realism, to the point that I started to feel like Basilisk was just doomed from the start, and that maybe he should stick with fictional logic just so that it could work somehow. However, I then began to think about it even more, and then say this to myself. Maybe I should do more research on the Allosaurus, as I'm literally just underestimating this animal for its bite force. Maybe Allosaurus was still a pretty formidable predator, so that's what I did. I did some more research on the animal itself. And it was at this point that I realized why Allosaurus was actually perfect for my hybrid. Real quick, I want to give a big shout out to Dinosaur Discovery for his video on the Allosaurus, as it actually helped me learn more about the animal. And also the clip that I'll be using for why the Allosaurus was actually perfect for the hybrid, it comes from their video. So if you guys are interested in knowing more about the Allosaurus, then I'll leave their video in the link of the description of this video.
While the bite force was not as strong as animals such as Tyrannosaurus, the jaws were still powerful. Allosaurus's wide gape could be used to rake its teeth across the hide of an animal, stripping off flesh and causing bleeding damage.
So basically, instead of having a bone-crushing bite like the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the jaws of Allosaurus were most likely designed to slice meat and tear off flesh. This is certainly similar to Komodo dragons and to an extent Megalania, whose jaws were designed to grip and rip flesh. Now, what does this mean for Basilisk? Well, these jaws are now more functional and they are more specialized for tearing and slicing flesh. And since they work better for the hybrid now, Basilisk wouldn't have to worry about breaking its jaws. Now, you must be wondering, why not use the jaws of Tyrannosaurus Rex, as that is made of bone and not cartilage like the great white shark? Well, given the pressure that Tyrannosaurus Rex bit down on its prey, yeah, no, I think Basilisk would definitely break his jaws with that much pressure. Now that we replaced the great white shark DNA with the Allosaurus DNA, does this mean that we're also gonna replace the teeth with Allosaurus' teeth? Well, actually not really, since, as it turns out, keeping the teeth of Megalania in is actually much more efficient. Recent research have confirmed that Komodo dragons have iron-coated teeth, perfect for slicing through flesh, especially the hard skin. Even though it's unclear whether Megalania even had iron-coated teeth, considering that, once again, like I keep saying in my previous video, Megalania was most likely related to Komodo dragon, so it most likely also possessed an iron-coated teeth. The bite of a Komodo dragon is strong enough to make a large animal like a buffalo bleed. And here's another factor. Buffaloes, aside from dying through venom infection from the Komodo dragon, they also die through blood loss because, well, given how much blood they lose from the bite, yeah, that's guaranteed blood loss. Speaking of venom, since we're keeping the iron-coated teeth of Megalania, it's safe to say that Basilisk would also kill his prey with venom, although that's probably still a debate on whether Megalania also had venom like Komodo dragons, although, like I keep saying, both were related, so it most likely also had venom. Although his venom would be mostly useful depending on the situation, because if he's fighting an hybrid that has venom immunity, then his venom is most likely useless. Really, his only tactic to win against an hybrid would be to tire them out and then bind them in particular body parts where they could bleed and potentially die from blood loss. And since he has the bite force of Allosaurus and the iron-coated teeth of Megalania, he could do that no problem without having to worry about breaking his jaws. So yeah, unfortunately Basilisk wouldn't really have a powerful bite force. But his jaws are still specialized for ripping and tearing flesh off. Now, we fixed the jaw problem. Is there another modification that we need to do? As a matter of fact, there is. And this time, we'll take a look at venom and disease immunity. So in the previous video, I chose pig DNA for an immune system against venom and diseases. However, upon doing some further research, I found out that Komodo dragons are not only resistant to venom, but they're also resistant to diseases. And given that, well, again, Komodo dragons and Megalania are related, so it's possible that Megalania would also have a similar immune system to both venom and diseases. Well, at least resistance, because, well, calling it an immune system is a bit too far-fetched, but just like I said in the previous video, these animals have more resistance to these types of stuff than us humans. Now, would this mean that I'll be getting rid of the pig DNA and just stick with Megalania DNA for that? Yes and no. For the most part, yes, I'll be getting rid of the pig DNA, but in regards of whether I'll need Megalania for the resistance against venom and diseases, well, turns out I have other choices for that. If you recall, I mentioned that one of the contributors of Basilisk was the Nile crocodile that served the amphibiousness for the hybrid. Well, as it turns out, the Nile crocodile, or I guess I should say crocodilians in general, have more up their sleeves. So as it turns out, crocodilians are highly resistant to venom, more specifically snake venom. In fact, the Nile crocodile is resistant to the venom of the mamba and the cobra. So aside from contributing amphibiousness for Basilisk, along with the spiky crocodilian tail, the Nile crocodile would also be great for venom immunity, and this would allow Basilisk to just tank most venom. Now I do have a question. If we combine the venom resistance of the Nile crocodile along with those of Megalania, would that make the venom resistance of Basilisk even more stronger? Because keep in mind that Goji Center, when they responded to Goji Guy in regards of Hank, they mentioned that the Indom 2.0, since it had the DNA of the dwarf crocodile and the northern shrew, this would make Indom 2.0 highly immune to most venom. Which, I don't know if it's a question of like combining the immune system and resistance of both animals, but if that were the case, would it also be possible for Basilisk if I were to combine the immune system, or I guess I should say resistance to venom from the Nile crocodile and Megalania? That's what I want to know. If it ain't possible, then I'll be sticking with Nile crocodile with venom resistance. Alright, now that I did that, you must be wondering, okay, Basilisk has a immune system for venom, but what about diseases? Well, For that, I picked another animal who has a much better resistance to diseases. And that animal is the ostrich. Ostriches are one of the animals to have a great resistance to diseases, and they have a particular way of doing it. Ostriches can produce antibodies within 2 weeks of its exposure to an antigen, or any sort of diseases, and this system allows to make them immune to diseases, and therefore not suffer any disease problem. Thanks to this system, Basilisk would be immune to diseases and wouldn't have to worry about being contaminated. And yeah, that's basically all the modifications needed for Basilisk. So in regards of how this turned out, well, from the looks of it, all I did was replace one contributor with a new one, then expand a little bit more with 2 contributors that I already had for Basilisk, and also include another one for another factor, which is obviously the immune system for diseases. And yeah, I think that's all I needed to do for Basilisk. And yeah, we practically reached the end of the video, and boy, what a wild ride I went into. I think I can confirm that out of all the characters that I've created so far, I think Basilisk might be the most special one that I've ever worked on into. It mostly has to do with the functionality part, especially since the whole idea is to create an animal that was supposed to be functional for realism. And, you know, it was a frustrating aspect, I'll say that, especially since with the whole tournament rules that I had to just follow in order to have a way to have Basilisk fight the Indominus 2.0. It was a frustrating aspect, but at the end it was also kind of fascinating in a way. Like, creating an animal that is meant to be functional and meant for realism. And sure, it was a bit of an complicated part, considering that, again, I'm not an expert when it comes to this, but either way, I still went ahead with it, and I created Basilisk just like that. And yeah, couldn't say that I'm more, I guess, how do I put it? Basically, I'm proud with my hybrid, honestly. Like, honestly, it doesn't even matter that there's like some flaws with like the final result in terms of the contributors that I chose. Really, I'm genuinely proud with what I created, and yeah, I created a type of character that honestly I never thought I would manage to create, but I still went ahead, and like I said, I'm very proud with my special boy that is Basilisk. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, Basilisk didn't make it into the top 16 rank of the Great Hybrid War. But honestly, I don't mind whatsoever about it. Like I said, I'm very proud of creating Basilisk. I think he has a very special place in my heart, so at this point I really don't mind whatsoever. In fact, I think it might have been a good thing that Basilisk didn't make it whatsoever into the ranking, because literally in the video, after Goji Center revealed the 16 hybrids that would be potent enough to defeat the Indominus 2.0, before even saying which one would be able to actually defeat her, they basically decided to pit these 16 hybrids against each other, so that we can literally have one winner between all of these hybrids, and therefore basically have the definitive winner as to who would basically beat the Indom 2.0. And looking at it, I think, yeah, I think it was a good thing that Basilisk didn't make it whatsoever into the ranking. Because, like, okay, maybe there's some hybrids that Basilisk could take down, but a freaking sauropod? Like, yeah, no, there's no way in hell Basilisk is gonna take down a sauropod hybrid. Now, in the beginning, I know I said that I'll be calling quits when it comes of participating into tournaments, but really, oh god, I think I was just being salty, like, being extremely salty over the fact that Basilisk got ignored completely, which I think I should get get used to that at this point because every time I try participating into a tournament, I'm always the one to get ignored. So really, this shouldn't be new to me, honestly. But as I also said in the beginning, this entire tournament, this entire hybrid war was it was meant to be for fun. Like, it was never meant to be taken seriously. All of this was just for fun. Like, when I created Basilisk, I did it for fun. Like, I wasn't doing it seriously. Like, I didn't took this entire tournament seriously. Which, unfortunately, there's some people that actually take this entire hybrid war extremely seriously. Like, unfortunately, you got power scalers trying to debunk Indom 2.0 and even the hybrids. And you also got some Indom 2.0 stands that literally think that she's the most invincible creature in the world and that no one can defeat her, which that's just no, just don't do that. Like, I tend to avoid these types of stuff when it comes of trends like that. I don't need drama in these types of stuff, honestly. Like, it's just fun watching people be creative and create unique creatures. Like really, I'm not the biggest critic out there. Like, I couldn't care less if someone had a contributor that just doesn't work for their hybrid. Like, really, I couldn't care less about that. I'm just here watching and seeing all of these amazing hybrids be created and come to life through different ways. Which, honestly, that's just fun. That's the fun part of this entire hybrid board, and I really wanna stay in that side of it and don't wanna reach into the more negative side, which, again, like I said, power scalers and just Indom 2.0 stands, which, no, please, I don't want to do that. Just to clarify, I have nothing against these people. I'm just saying that it's best to just have fun with these types of trend and not take it seriously. With that being said, will I join other tournaments with other hybrids instead of Indom 2.0? Really, I don't know, because as far as I've seen, I don't know if there's like other people doing their own tournaments for their own hybrids. Like, as far as I'm aware, I don't think I've seen a Goji guy do it with his new and improved version of Ankh. Either way, I don't think I even want to. I don't think I want to fight Ankh 2.0. Now, there is a user by the name of Aries Tisang 2, something like that, who is doing his own hybrid tournament with his own hybrid called Lucy, which is one of the hybrids that managed to make it into the honorable mentions ranking. But will I have my hybrid fight against Lucy? Nah, I don't know, really. Lucy isn't really that interesting to me, I will say. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad hybrid, just, I don't know, I don't think she's that interesting to me. So I don't know if I would be interested in having Basilisk fight against her. Nevertheless, I still have some video ideas in regards of Basilisk, so he isn't completely disappearing from the channel. But yeah, I think I'm officially done with the Great Hybrid War, at least with the tournament stuff. And honestly, I'll be surprised if by some miracle, none of these hybrids even manage to defeat the Indom 2.0. Honestly, there's one way you can beat her. Freaking throw Allosaurus from -1 and that's it. In the meantime, I'll focus in making the video ideas in regards of Basilisk. In fact, the next video that I'll be doing on him would be an interesting one. So this idea is based on, I guess, a new trend in regards of the Great Hybrid War. And it goes as simple. Basilisk didn't get the opportunity to fight the Indominus 2.0. However, what if instead of fighting the Indominus 2.0, Basilisk will attempt to fight other hybrids? That's right. Next time on Project Hybrid, we'll test Basilisk's skills against other people's hybrids. And we'll see how well he goes. That's all I've got to say. I'm the Godzilla Reader, and I'll see you guys in the next video.